Now that we have the general shape of the knife, Matt will put it on the 320 grit belt. It's very important that our belts flex. As you can see, those belts are moving. They're not very rigid. They've got to move so that we can blend the thumb guard into the handle so that it's not just a block. We like them to look nice, but the most important thing is they have to be real comfortable and they have to be very functional. And that's after the 320 grit belt. That knife's ready to be polished and finished up. That's basically a 400 grit compound on a buffing wheel. He's taken the 320 grit scratches out of it. From then he'll move over to the black wheel, which is a 600 grit compound that'll take the 400 grit scratches out, and then it'll make it easier for polishing that brass. That small black wheel is it's a grease compound. And this is the stuff that gets you real dirty. You look like a coal miner after you've been polishing knives all day. It's actually a jeweler's rouge, but it polishes the brass real nice. It takes all the scratches and it takes everything out of it, so it's a real smooth feel. That you looked at earlier that was basically a block with a piece of steel sticking out of it. That'll get sharpened, the blade will get satin finished, and then it'll go up front to be laser engraved and ship off to its new owner. After we get the knives done and polished and sharpened up in the back, they come up into this room. We do all the laser engraving. In this case, we're going to be putting your logo on the knife. So a lot of people walk into the store and they're looking for personalized gifts. The laser engraving is something that we can do. It only takes a few minutes. The knife is already done. It's in the showroom. It's got our logo on it and everything that's supposed to be on it already. So in this case, we're just going to put your name on it. It's less than a 5-minute job if you want to come in and have it done. Engrave the deer antlers on the piece of deer horn. The knife will be ready to clean up and oil up and put in the sheath. The knife has to come with a real high quality sheath. If you notice, this thumb guard comes out and it's long enough to where you can't even pull it out of the sheath and it won't fall out, and if it comes unsnapped, a lot of times it'll just hang there anyways. So the sheaths are very high quality. The sheaths are also warranted for life with the knife. That block knife that you just looked at is all finished. This knife is a pretty special knife. The handle material in this is 22,000-year-old fossilized mammoth tooth. This Damascus blade is actually cable Damascus. It's pieces of wire cable that are woven around the blade and welded to the billet and then hammer forged into the steel. Your dark portions in there are the carbon and your light portions are the chromium. And after it's ground, you dip it in acid and all the carbon turns black and the chromium does not. You hope to end up with a pattern like that. That's about a 1 in 10,000 try knife. This one's pretty special. This is also a basket weave pattern with a tighter wire pattern than the one on the top. This is all stacked leather with an elk antler pommel. This is probably the most traditional that you'll see. Knives, a lot of hammers and axes are made with it, but this pommel comes loose on it. Is we put a 5-ton epoxy between each leather spacer before we glue it. That way this pommel's never going to come loose. We fancy them up even a little bit more. The orange spacer in there is G10 micarta, and then the white spacers are deer antler, and we laser engrave the little deer tracks in them. And this knife is actually a one of a kind. It says custom 1 of 1 2014 on it. We photograph these, document them. The 1 of 1s will never be duplicated. This one's all antler. It's got a running deer on it, a few deer tracks. That's another custom 1 of 1. We also do the larger knives, which we don't build many of them because they're really not all that practical. They are very collectible. Everything that we make, we use, we field test. If there's no good use for it, we don't make it. It's that simple. So a lot of custom stuff. This knife here is an alligator jawbone cast in a blue resin epoxy. Here's a corn cob knife, completely turned down. That's solid like plastic now. This is actually popcorn. Looks like snake skin, gator skin. I like to quiz people when they come in as to what they think this is. And we use a lot of it, but that's actually a stabilized pine cone. It's dried, cut in half, and then we cast it in this acrylic epoxy. And we've done everything from blaze orange to aqua blue. That makes a really neat handle. In 2007, we came out with our first line of pocket knives. This is the first one here. We call it the Yooper because we use all maple burl and deer antler from Upper Michigan in the handle. It is a lock back. It's more of an everyday carry knife. And we also make the larger Yooper with a belt clip on it, more for hunting and heavier duty work. Got the double thumb stud on it, so if you're right or left-handed, you can still open it. Again, that's the larger Yooper. This is our fixed blade Yooper. It's got maple burl and antler in it with the UP outline engraved on it. And this is the combo, so you get the larger fixed blade, and you can also piggyback it with the smaller folder, or it will fit our ready edge knife sharpener, will also go in that pouch. We basically make 4 models fillet knives. This is our double edge fillet. If you flip it over and use that heavy edge to cut through the scales, which are bone, you save your edge for taking the fillet off the skin. It has been our #1 selling fillet knife since we started making it. We also make big salmon knives. This is our 13-inch stiffy. It's built for big fish, for salmon. And then we've got a smaller version. This is the King. This one's got more flex than that one. This one in particular is pretty neat. It's made out of a piece of shipwreck wood from Lake Michigan. Makes a real nice knife handle, and you can get the Lake Michigan shipwreck wood in any of our blades. This is our H2h Combat Knife. These are carried by troops all over the world. We had a contract to build these for the government. Once that contract came up, then we were able to put whatever kind of handles we want on them and sell them. It's nice that they trust us and trust our products. All of our knives we sharpen and polish free for life, but throughout the year we get thousands of people that bring in knives that we didn't make that they'd like sharpened and polished. So what we do is we sharpen and polish those knives for a donation directly for the Wounded Warrior in Action Foundation. Last year we sent 16 wounded vets on whitetail hunts in Texas, and they all got a brand new Rapid River knife with the Wounded Warrior in Action logo on it and with their name lasered into the handle. This year we're up to 35 hunts, and we've donated over 70 knives to date just by sharpening and polishing knives through donations from customers. So that's something we're real happy to be involved with, and it's real gratifying.